Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the time you are watching this lecture. This lecture is part of the business ethics course, and this is lecture number 7. The subject matter of the lecture is corporate culture, governance, ethical leadership, and moral or ethical intelligence. The text provides at the beginning a beautiful and illuminating case, the case of Johnson & Johnson Company, and what it did through its history, and how the founder of this company has set a corporate ethical tradition or culture since its establishment, since its foundation. Early, before the subject matter of business ethics and before the subject matter of corporate social responsibility, Johnson & Johnson, which is a company that produces medical products, medical items, variety of medical items. This company very early has set a policy to be humanitarian and to be caring and to be ethical in its conduct towards all the stakeholders that it deals with. The focus of this subject, the subject of today, is on ethical responsibility of the firm from internal perspective. How the firm deals internally with the various issues, the various practices, the various decisions that it takes, and how this impacts on what it does towards the external stakeholders. Now, companies have policies, have rules, have regulations, but they also have what is called tradition or culture. We want to examine how the firm is governed and managed in a way to bring about ethical behavior and ethical decision making in the various domains of its activities. In this regard, we want to examine what are the appropriate roles of the various organizational actors. Who are these actors? These actors are the boards, the board of directors, and the various committees emanating from that board, the executives, the managers, as well as the various employees or the various individuals employed by the company. Not just these actors, but also the institutional system and structure that fosters, that promotes the ethical behavior and responsibility of the firm. We want to examine how these various actors and elements and structures impact on the ethical practices and the ethical decision-making and behavior of the firm. So the question arises here: what is the role of corporate culture in this regard? What's the role of what we can call the organizational DNA or organizational personality, if we can, apply the term personality to the total organization. Culture reflects the personality of the organization, the traditions, the values, the expectations, the beliefs, the rituals, the common ways of doing things in the organization. How such culture could promote, could enhance, could support, could encourage ethical conduct at the various levels and in the various domains of its activities. So at the end, I have added to what the text examines an additional subject of the role of moral or ethical intelligence and competences in this regard. Ethical intelligence is now a recognized area that characterizes individuals. Ethical intelligence is different than mental intelligence and is different than emotional intelligence. It is the ability of people to differentiate and distinguish between what is right and what is wrong from ethical or moral standpoint. Okay, let's start with corporate culture. Okay. You probably have studied the subject of organizational culture or corporate culture, which consists of shared patterns of latent beliefs, not overt, not what people express, but what they internally. Okay? The word latent means hidden or internal. Beliefs, values, expectations, shared meanings, rituals, traditions, ways of doing things that influence and guide the thinking and behavior of members of that organization. It's something that you don't see, it's something that is not tangible or overt, but it is the hidden attributes, the hidden common shared attributes among people with regard to beliefs, values, expectations, meanings, rituals, ways of doing things. As I said, one can consider corporate culture to be the distinguishing personality of the organization, the unique distinguishing characteristics of the organization, because two organizations may be producing the same products, may be operating in the same market, may have similar structures, similar technologies, but not two organizations would have the same exact cultures, the same exact set of beliefs, values, meanings, traditions, expectations, so on and so forth. Let me here distinguish between strong and weak cultures. It's important to clarify the meaning of culture and its various dimensions, components, and types, as I was just describing, strong and weak cultures, because this represents the background of what we will handle or what we will analyze as ethical culture, moral culture. So, what is a strong culture? Strong culture represent clear meaning, obvious, understandable, not ambiguous, clear and deeply held and widely shared set of beliefs, values, expectations, meanings, rituals, and traditions among organization members. You can tell about a strong culture if you find people acting similarly in similar situations. You can notice or judge or get to know a strong culture by how the people are attaching or holding to certain principles and values and meanings and traditions in similar ways. Their reaction, their ways of doing things, their thinking would be similar in this respect. The opposite of this is for weak cultures. A weak culture means that there is no common, there is no care, there is no deeply held, there is no widely shared set of beliefs. Various groups of people have their own thinking, their own values. So the segmentation, the fragmentation, the diversity of how people think and how people consider things and how people value certain situations, when they are different, when they are not deeply shared, when they are not widely held by members, then we can call this a weak culture. Cultures are not static. Organizational cultures are dynamic and changing, because organizations are in continuous actions, because organizations are continuously evolving and acting and making decisions and experiencing and acquiring experiences and learning, because the dynamic nature of organizations. Therefore, cultures also are not static, are not stable or static. They change according to the accumulated experiences and learning, and according to the influences of certain events that take place, and also, and this is very important, the influence of charismatic or transformational executives or leaders. Leaders, charismatic, who are loved, who are admired, who are well respected, who have a great deal of influence on others. Transformational leaders, leaders who change the aspiration, change the culture of the group. So cultures change by the experiences that organizations go through, and also through the role and influence of charismatic and transformational leaders. A number of studies have indicated that companies that last for decades and maybe for centuries, the long-lasting, sustained companies achieve success and durability or sustainability through their emphasis, their great emphasis on their core values and clear corporate purpose. The companies that through the years, through their history, through their life, have kept and were committed and were emphasizing certain core values and clear purpose have greater likelihood to sustain themselves and to achieve success. The term here that may be applied to this is the corporate core ideology. Corporate core ideology represents the core values and the corporate purpose, what the company is aiming at, what is the purpose for its existence, what goals does it hold, does it work for. Okay, let's examine the role of ethical leadership, ethical executives, ethical managers, ethical supervisors with regard to corporate culture. The role of leaders is very important in shaping the values, beliefs, rituals, traditions, expectations, in shaping corporate culture. This is with regard to all leaders at all levels. However, leaders at the top management or top executives, play a crucial role in this regard. The most influential, leaders with regard to shaping and directing the behavior of the total organization with regard to expectations, beliefs, traditions, and so on, are people at the top, the executive level in the organization. Of course, the integrity of these people. The integrity, and the opposite is corruption. If we have strong, high integrity, and we will clarify at the end what is the meaning of integrity, if they are honest, if they are fair, if they are conscientious, if they care for others, of course, this affects the rest of the organization. And if they are the opposite, if they are corrupt, if they accept, for example, self-benefits, if they accept to achieve personal gains at the expense of the whole organization or other stakeholders, then, of course, such behavior would be noticed, would be watched, would be observed, would be known to other employees and to the other levels, and therefore it affects what people do. If they see their leaders, if they see people at the top engaging in certain ethical behavior, then ethics will penetrate into the various levels in the organization. If they see the top people in the organization engaging in illegal, unethical, corrupt practices, of course this allows people at the various levels to be tolerant, and perhaps not just tolerant, but also to engage in similar practices and activities. It is important here to indicate that there are certain reflections, certain indicators that reflect how committed the organization is to certain values. Rather than examining the official, statements, rather than examining what is declared, rather than examining what people at the top say, let's examine what they do. And one of the things that reflect the actual preferences and the actual priorities is how resources are allocated. The resource allocation decisions exemplified by the budget. The budget says that this particular area would have such resources, would have such amount of money, would have certain number of people with certain qualifications. The budget here reflects the real and actual value and priorities. If, for example, the company says that it cares for its employees, now, does it allocate funds to employee benefits? Does it pay the appropriate wages and incentives? Does it provide the health care services? Does it provide so on and so forth, etc.? One can examine the budget and from that makes the inference about what the actual priority, the actual values that the organization really, in reality, holds, rather than what is being said or declared. Another area of relevance here is what the companies have in terms of something called the code of conduct. The code of conduct that represent the rules and guidelines that impact or that are provided for people to follow in their decisions and their practices. Examining the code of conduct internally and externally, code of conduct regarding employees and code of conduct regarding, for example, customers, community, environment, government, regulatory bodies, and the rest. Reflect component and the standards of the ethical culture. Culture is emphasized, is enhanced, ethical culture, through the various actions and the various messages sent by management, by the board, by the executives in the various decisions and various communication that they have with their employees. Let me stop here and then I'll continue in the subsequent completion of this lecture.